The galaxy was burning. Across star systems, planets flickered out like dying candles beneath the advance of the Drexery swarm. An insectoid species that devoured biospheres and left nothing but ash and bone. Their method was chaos. Their weapon was sheer, relentless numbers. The Galactic Coalition, an alliance of 17 advanced civilizations, had thrown everything at the Drexery. Orbital strikes, mechanized legions, synthetic war beasts. Still, they were losing. Earth entered the war late. Humanity was a fringe civilization on the galactic map, barely out of its cradle by Coalition standards. Their technology lagged behind. Their fleets were laughable. But Earth offered something else. A unit of 6 precision operatives trained in an art most alien species had discarded. Sniping, kinetic ballistics, patience warfare. They arrived aboard a rusting diplomatic barge that docked at Outpost Varelia, the Coalition's forward base near the Drexery front. The hangar, alive with shimmering alien forms of metallic scent, went silent when the Earth team disembarked. Towering Vernoc warriors, plated in living armor, turned to stare. Sleek trail tacticians clicked their mandibles in amusement. Even the crystalline Myrex, who communicated through vibrations in their translucent shells, emitted pulses of condescension. Captain Raymond didn't blink. He stepped forward in desert fatigues and a sun-scorched cloak, his boots clinking softly on the alloy floor. Behind him walked his 5, Sergeant Vega, tall and sharp-eyed, Corporal Singh, calm, methodical, Lieutenant Ramirez, half-shadow already, Private Zhao, young but unnervingly quiet, and Doc Elena, the only one who smiled. A hulking Draxon officer leaned toward a translator node. "This is the sniper team Earth sent?" he asked, tone dripping disbelief. "Are their weapons ceremonial?" Raymond didn't answer. He turned to Singh, who was already adjusting atmospheric filters on a rail-thin targeting scope. General Kalos of the Rune, a creature wrapped in coiling silver threads, addressed the humans with detached politeness. "You've been assigned a limited-range scouting mission. Observation only. Engage at your discretion. No expectations, of course." Ramirez snorted softly, inaudible to all but her team. Vega checked his bolt action like a ritual. Elena gave a 2-finger salute, unbothered. Behind them, laughter rose among the Coalition ranks. Someone muttered, "Primitive toys." They brought rifles to a planetary war. They were given quarters far from the command center, close to the maintenance decks. Their mission briefing was a single tablet. No satellite feeds, no tactical predictions. Just one line. Suspected Drexery Queen located on Erie's 3B. Coalition forces unable to neutralize. Local bioweather interference renders advanced targeting systems ineffective. It was the kind of job only humans would take seriously. Where plasma overheated and drone swarms failed, they saw clarity. Captain Raymond sat alone in the mess that evening, polishing a scope lens with the care of a surgeon. A pair of trail soldiers passed by, one mimicking a bang-bang motion with its forelimb. Raymond looked up and said, "Your sidearm's battery dies after 9 rounds. My bullet doesn't need a second chance." The alien tilted its head, confused by the human's quiet tone, not boastful, but precise. It walked on. Later that night, the Earth team met privately in a cargo bay, converted into a makeshift prep room. Maps were laid out, topographical renderings of Erie's 3B, an acidic moon littered with volcanic ridges and underground hive networks. Visibility would be low, air toxic, gravity just enough to mess with every instinct. Zhao, normally mute, asked, "We really going to kill a queen with bullet?" Raymond looked up from the map, eyes unreadable. "No, we're going to kill her," with a question. Singh raised an eyebrow. "The question," Raymond continued, "that every alien commander will ask after she drops. How did they do that?" There was a silence. Then Vega laughed once, short and dry. Elena shook her head but smiled. "They expect us to die out there," Ramirez said. "That's why they gave us this." Raymond nodded. "So we don't owe them anything." The next morning, they stood before the Coalition War Council. Holograms of Erie's. 3B flickered in midair. Hostile terrain. Dense hive signals. A defensive shield impervious to orbital bombardment. The Queen was only visible for seconds at a time, when she emerged to feed or relocate. No drone or satellite could time it. "We estimate a sub-10-second window every 5 hours," said Kalos. "And even that may be optimistic." "10's too long," Vega murmured. "A shot is not possible with your gear," another general declared, "unless you're hiding a battleship under your cloak." Raymond stepped forward. "We only need one shot." Snorts. A few aliens didn't even pretend to hide their disdain. "You'll be dropped at LZ Delta," Kalos said. "Recovery is unlikely." Elena offered grin. "That's okay. We brought our own exit." As they boarded the drop shuttle, the Coalition watched with varying degrees of pity and smugness. A Draxan officer turned to a colleague and chuckled. "There'll be fertilizer in 12 hours. Inside the shuttle, the atmosphere changed. No more mockery. No more eyes. Just the hum of readiness. "Scope re-zeroed," Singh said. "Target likely emerging on Eastern Ridge," Ramirez added. Zhao handed Raymond a single round. "Hand etch. Custom loaded. Calibrated to account for Eries. 3 BS atmosphere, spin, and magnetic interference." "Made for her skull," Zhao said. Raymond held it up to the light, then loaded it without a word. The shuttle dipped into the planet's orbit, turbulent and crimson beneath them. Lightning crawled through green clouds. The Drexery Queen was down there. Somewhere, a massive creature that had outlived fleets and swallowed worlds. Raymond looked at his team. None of them spoke. They didn't have to. Outside, the stars disappeared behind the clouds. Inside, 6 humans waited to teach a galaxy what fear really meant. Eries. 3B welcomed them with silence and poison. The shuttle touched down on the edge of a ravine, its landing softened by a damp soil slick with bioluminescent fungus. The atmosphere was a mix of methane and acrid fog, thick enough to blur optics, but not enough to hide what lingered in the shadows. Massive Drexery patrols, their exoskeletons pulsing with ambient heat. The Earth team disembarked in silence, each member slipping into the terrain, as if they were born from it. There were no words, no final checks. Every rifle had been tuned mid-flight, every motion rehearsed before launch. This wasn't the time for pep talks. It was the time for ghosts. Captain Raymond moved like gravity obeyed him. He crouched behind a jagged boulder, scanning the skyline with bare eyes. 1 kilometer east, a crater buzzed with Drexery movement. Singh handed him a tablet, rendered nearly useless in the interference-heavy zone, but Raymond didn't need high-tech. He traced lines with gloved finger, marking windbreaks, natural choke points, elevation tiers. The Queen was inside that crater. Sergeant Vega set up west of the ridge, nestled in a natural alcove that provided both cover and height. His rifle extended slowly, deliberate as a breath. Corporal Singh deployed portable sensors to track seismic vibrations. A Drexery's footstep was heavier than a tank's, and they needed to know what was coming long before it arrived. Every 40 minutes, a patrol circled the outer rim of the crater. 2 regular, 2 predictable. That would change the second one of them dropped. Lieutenant Ramirez and Private Zhao headed downslope, moving through tall clusters of purple grass that hissed when touched. Ramirez carried a small case of shaped charges and sensor beacons, each tuned to mimic Drexery pheromones. Zhao kept his rifle close, but never led. He was the quietest, the lightest on his feet, and when Ramirez placed a motion-triggered mine under a fungal growth, Zhao didn't even blink. Back near the drop point, Doc Elena unfolded a collapsible drone and sent it weaving through the mist. It wouldn't survive long. Erie's 3 BS atmosphere gnawed on electronics like acid, but she needed a single recon loop. The footage fed into her ocular implant, a blur of heat trails, twitching movement, flashes of iridescent armor, and then there she was, the Queen. She emerged briefly at the crater's edge, a grotesque tower of bone and chitin, surrounded by smaller drones tending to her needs. She was blind, fed by scent and vibration, her massive head crowned by a translucent plate that pulsed with internal biolight. She moved only in brief spurts, her feeding cycle irregular, but punctuated by the momentary drop of the internal energy field that shielded her brood chamber. 7 seconds. Elena said over comms, voice like a whisper in fog. "That's the window. Shield weakens on pulse draw. Happens every 3 hours. That's all Raymond needs, Vega replied, already zeroing his scope. Correction, said Singh. He needs 5. The team fell into rhythm. Each member played their part like notes in a silent symphony. Singh updated calculations every hour, adjusting for micro shifts in atmospheric pressure. Vega ran simulated shots in his mind, studying not just the line of fire but the possible ripple effects. What patrols would hit a shot, where confusion would bloom, how panic might scatter command units. Ramirez laid out an escape path north of the crater, planting thermal decoys to draw off the enemy once the Queen dropped. Zhao said nothing, but Elena noticed he checked and rechecked his ammo with obsessive precision. It had to be perfect. No second chances. A miss meant death. Not just for them, for thousands of coalition troops who'd be forced to retreat if the Queen wasn't neutralized. On the second night, the Drexery changed their pattern. One of the outer scouts failed to return, likely consumed by local fauna. The patrol tightened. Raymond watched from a rocky perch, breath still, every movement rationed. He hadn't fired a shot in 32 hours. That didn't bother him. Waiting was the sniper's oldest tool. Any fool could shoot. Only a warrior could choose when not to. A coalition observer drone, hidden high above the atmosphere, sent down occasional blurry footage. It was just enough for command to see the humans hadn't run. That was their only comfort. They're still alive, muttered Kalos at HQ. Though for what purpose, I can't imagine. No reply came from Raymond's team. They weren't here for applause. On the third day, the Queen moved early. Singh caught the shift in heat signatures and gave the alert. She surfaced, likely repositioning for the next pulse draw. Raymond's fingers flexed over the rifle. He exhaled once. Wind's clean, Singh murmured. Elena cross-checked trajectory vectors. Spins aligning. Shot window in 30. The Queen loomed over a crater, feeding tendrils dipping into nutrient vats. Her guards shifted in semicircular formations, big, armored, fast. Even if the shot killed her instantly, the explosion of movement would be chaos. Raymond knew this. He also knew that every second he waited increased the odds of discovery. He tapped his rifle side. Magnetic seals hissed into place. One round chambered. The round. He settled his scope. Singh called out distances like a mantra. Elevation drop, 3.6. Wind drag, minimal. Air density, 92. Seismic activity, quiet. Vega was already watching through a secondary lens. Ramirez had her finger on a remote detonator. Zhao knelt beside her, rifle tilted slightly toward the ridge. Window opens in 5, Elena said, calm. Raymond held his breath. 3, 2, 1. He didn't pull the trigger. He released it, like letting go of a truth. The round left the barrel with no sound. No light, just motion. A single arc through thick, hostile air. A curve so subtle, even the atmosphere didn't notice. The bullet traveled nearly 2.5 kilometers, slipped through the momentary glitch in the shield, and struck the Queen directly through the frontal plate. There was no scream, just silence, then a collapse. Her towering body buckled like a cathedral falling into itself. Guards shrieked, unsure where to run. The crater lit with alarm pheromones. The hive shuddered. Singh's voice broke through. Direct neural hit. She's not getting up. Far above, in Coalition HQ, General Kalos stood in stunned silence as the kill registered on their system. An alien beside him whispered, "Was that real?" But on the ground, Captain Raymond was already moving. He packed his rifle, eyes cold, voice steady. "That's one." They faded into the mist before the Drexery even knew where to look. The Drexery hive didn't die with the Queen, but it staggered like a giant struck behind the knees. Within minutes of the shot, biocommunication lines among drones snapped into chaos. Patrols began to turn on each other, confused by the absence of central pheromone signals. The crater flooded with high-frequency shrieks. Panic, not vengeance. What had once been a coordinated swarm now lurched into disarray, like limbs twitching without a brain. Raymond's team moved fast. Ramirez detonated her charges, sending fire and noise blooming across the northern ridge. drawing Drexel patrols like moths to flame. Elena released her final drone, a glowing decoy emitting synthetic queen signals, luring guards away from the collapse site. Vega and Singh fell back along a narrow ravine, sweeping their tracks with chemical dispersants to throw off scent seekers. Zhao took the rear, rifle aim not at enemies but at choke points. Ray collapsed them and pursuit became too tight. They made it 4 kilometers west before the hive recalibrated. Ramirez caught it first, an unnatural silence that fell over the trees, deeper than before. The forest hushed, even the ever-present fungal hiss muted. She signaled with a flick of her hand, and the squad froze mid-step. Raymond crouched, ear to the ground, listening. Then he felt it, not steps but pressure, the thrum of something burrowing beneath them. A new type of drone, something held back until now. Something angry. Scanners are blind, Singh muttered. No motion markers. Whatever's coming, it's built to hide. Ambush protocol, Raymond said. The team split, no arguments. Vega and Singh took the high ground. Zhao vanished into the trees. Ramirez climbed a gnarled, smoking pillar of core-like rock and went prone. Elena ducked behind a ridge of slag stone, drawing her sidearm but leaving it holstered. She watched the air. It arrived through the dirt, silent, swift, surgical. A Drexel execution unit, unlike the others. Smaller, sleeker, its carapace pulsed with living patterns of light. It emerged inches from where Raymond had just been, mandibles clicking in confusion at the empty space. Raymond was already behind it. The blade he carried wasn't elegant. Just steel, old earth forged, heavy and cruel. He drove it through the joint behind the creature's neck plate, pushing with both hands until the hilt touched flesh. It dropped without ceremony. But others were coming. Dozens. The air filled with low-frequency vibration. Not panic, calculation. Vega opened fire from above, his rifle's bark muffled by a custom silencer, each shot dropping a drone mid-pounce. Singh backed him up, launching flash rounds to disrupt their formation. Elena patched feed lines between their scopes, coordinating fields of fire. Ramirez began marking targets. Fast as first, heavy as second, never two in the same breath. Zhao didn't fire. He moved. He slid between tree trunks, flanking the flankers, setting small traps made from copper wire and explosive gel. He spoke only once. Left. 2 incoming. Fast. Raymond turned, caught the blur of movement, raised his rifle, and waited. Patience. The Drexel scouts burst from the underbrush, pincers wide. 1 round. 2. Both creatures fell before they could scream. But it wasn't enough. For every one that fell, 2 more crept closer. The enemy was learning, adapting. And somewhere in that confusion, a new target emerged, a command drone larger, shaped like a walking brain with eyes. Elena, Raymond said, spotting it. That's our next shot. She was already lining it up, breath held. The round left her rifle with a high-pitched snap, the bullet a micro-drill built for hardened chitin. It struck dead center between the creature's glowing lobes. And for a moment, the entire swarm paused, as if awaiting orders that no longer came. That pause bought them 20 seconds. Raymond seized them. Northwest, he ordered. Ridgeline. We break through. They moved as one. Sprinting now, no more caution. It was raw escape, a calculated dash through fire-slick mud and carnivorous plants, pursued by a horde that had found purpose again. Drones shrieked. Acid rounds sizzled past. Singh got clipped on the shoulder. Ramirez dragged him forward without slowing. Zhao tossed his last mine and didn't wait to watch it explode. They reached the ridge on bleeding lungs. Beyond it, nothing but empty air and scorched clouds. Elena opened her comm, beacon ready, calling extraction. Static answered, then a voice, low and uncertain. Coalition frequency. Is this the Earth team? Elena laughed breathlessly. Still alive, requesting pickup. Coordinates locked. You shouldn't have survived that. We weren't supposed to. Minutes stretched. The Drexel regrouped. Shapes gathered at the base of the ridge, not attacking, just watching, as if trying to understand. Then the sky cracked open. A coalition dropship descended like an avenging angel, Plasma engine searing trees to ash. Ropes unspooled. Vega pulled Singh up first, then Ramirez and Zhao. Elena went last, climbing with one hand and her pistol drawn. Raymond didn't move until all were aboard. He turned back to the Drexery one last time. No rage on their faces, just the distant calculation of a species that didn't comprehend what had just happened. Inside the ship, medics rushed forward. The crew, alien, human, synthetic, stared in disbelief. "They killed the Queen," one whispered. "They're bleeding," another added. "And they're laughing." Raymond leaned back in his seat, eyes on the ceiling, heart still steady. "We're not done," he said. And outside, below the clouds, the Drexery High began to howl. The silence of space was a lie. Within the command deck of the Coalition Dreadnought Vigilant Horizon, the quiet hum of machinery underscored every breath. Status lights blinked in calm repetition. On the central display, a slowly rotating model of Eries. 3B shimmered with red alerts, each marking a Drexery nest node. The Queen was dead, but the swarm had not collapsed. If anything, it had grown more aggressive, feral without command, lashing out in all directions like a severed nerve still sparking. Captain Raymond stood beside the mission commander, arms folded, face unreadable. He hadn't changed out his field uniform, still stained with fungal grime and scorched fibers. His rifle leaned against the wall like a loyal hound. 27 confirmed hive ruptures since your team's extraction, the alien tactical officer reported, his voice a rumbling accent of vibrating stones. The drones are behaving erratically, killing each other, attacking their own relay structures. "Good," Raymond said, "but not good enough." General Kalos paced nearby, stiff with tension. "You were supposed to delay the Drexery, not decapitate their chain of command. That kind of move is how you end wars," Raymond finished. Kalos paused, his jaw clenched, but he didn't argue, because the kill had worked. For the first time in months, the Coalition had initiative. Vega, Singh, Ramirez, Elena, and Zhao stood near a side panel, watching satellite footage loop the Queen's final moment. Each time, it struck like a thunderclap. The blur, the impact, the slow topple of the alien matriarch. Singh still wore a shoulder sling, but his grin had returned. Vega was quiet, his fingers twitching through mental calculations as if preparing the next shot already. Ramirez had cleaned her gear 3 times since arriving. Ritual more than necessity. Zhao said little, but he hadn't let go of his rifle even once. They didn't feel like heroes. Not yet, but the room treated them like gods. News of the kill had reached every Coalition channel. Earth's sniper team, once mocked and doubted, was now a symbol of defiance. Broadcasts repeated the footage with commentary in every tongue. Alien allies, even those who had questioned humanity's usefulness in the war, began to reevaluate. Something in their species' stubbornness, precision, patience, had cracked the uncrackable. Still, the team knew better than to celebrate too early. Without the Queen, Elena said quietly, the Drexery could fracture into splinter hives, each more dangerous. No central control means no restraint. Raymond nodded. A headless serpent still bites. Singh leaned forward. Unless we cauterize the neck. A silence followed, not dismissive considering. Kalos turned toward the group. You want to go back. You think this isn't over. No, Raymond said. We know it isn't. This was a first cut. The hive will evolve. It's what they do. But now we've seen what's behind the curtain. The mystique is gone. They bleed. They fall. So we finish it. By yourselves? The general asked, disbelief lacing his tone. We're not asking for permission, Ramirez said, her voice even. We're offering results. Kalos studied them, then turned to the alien strategist. Tactical feasibility? The Draythalin blinked slowly. A small team could exploit the disorder, penetrate deeper while the Drexery reorganize, strike their brain clusters before new queens develop. The opportunity window is narrow. Raymond stepped forward. Then we don't waste it. There were nods from every member of the team. Not pride, resolve. Within hours, preparations began. Their gear was replaced with upgraded variants, atmospheric rebreathers, low-EM rifles, adaptive camo suits. New intelligence came in, maps of the hive interior once thought impenetrable. With the Queen's shielding down, satellite scans were catching glimpses of inner chambers, grotesque birthing pits, neural relay nodes. The Drexery weren't just warriors. They were builders. Their hives had purpose, geometry, even art. Some sections resembled temples more than bunkers, as if war itself was a sacred ritual to them. But now those temples were cracking. Before departure, each member had a brief moment alone. Vega sat cross-legged in the armory, recalibrating his scope. He whispered numbers to himself, each one tied to a range, a wind pattern, a body drop. Singh replayed mission logs, not looking for errors but for patterns, the way the drones responded to different frequencies, how the Queen moved before feeding. When the hive went still, Elena ran diagnostics on their biosensors, but she also recorded a message, not to family. There were none left, but to the next medic who might wear her patch. Don't chase medals. Chase the living. Patch holes, not pride. Ramirez did not say goodbye. She simply packed. Zhao walked the ship's observation deck once, alone, eyes fixed on the planet below. He didn't blink for minutes. And Raymond? He stood in the launch bay, hand resting on the hull of their new drop shuttle. Not for reassurance, just memory. He thought of Earth. Not flags, not nations. Just streets, smells, dusk on a rooftop with rain. That was worth killing for. They launched in silence. No fanfare. No trumpet. Just 6 shadows diving back into the dark. Because the job wasn't done. Not until the last drone fell. Not until the hive forgot how to rebuild. And as a vigilant horizon faded from view, as the surface of Eries, 3B returned with foul air and glowing fungus, the Drexery swarm stirred again. But this time they weren't laughing.